Hello, my name is Geithner. I am speaking for the DDR Museum, which is located in Berlin, and I'm working there as a social media manager. So I will give you a very practical insight view of the museum. So I am not a scientist, which made it kind of hard to me to give you separate feedback on your initial findings, but I weaved it kind of into my presentation of the museum. So I read your initial findings and I was like, yes, I can agree with that, or I find that very interesting, and it can also really help us to create a museum environment. So I'm a social media manager. Originally I studied directing movies. So I come from a whole different part and focused a lot on games. And I approached the DDR Museum not looking for a job, but looking for a publisher. A good friend of mine and I, we were putting together a book on self-made board games that were self-made in GDR. And we were very happy and very surprised to find a museum that was extremely open to the idea that games and playing games can help to tell history and create a unique experience in telling history. So the museum that I'm working for has a subtitle, A Hands-on Experience of History, which means two things. On the one hand side, it's an advantage for us that we are showing history that is very recent. Yeah, this year, 25 years ago. So there are still a lot of things existing, a lot of objects. So every day visitors come to the museum and bringing their stuff from home and say, we don't have any use for this anymore, but please preserve it for us. So we are able to put a lot of these objects inside the museum and let people touch objects, use them, get dressed with them, or whatever they do. And on the other hand, our museum is packed with digital technologies. It's quite young. It was founded in 2006. And so it was out of the question to put in a lot of digital devices. And so there was this whole interactive concept created that activates the visitor right from the beginning on. But to give you an overview of what we have, you can see here a number of digital devices, which are quite a lot. Monitors, touchscreens, audio stations, telephones, a driving simulator, fog screen, multi-touch table. And we use the digital technology, like you can see in the upper picture, our multi-touch table, that visitors can access, on the one hand, more information where there's not enough room. Our museum is also limited in space, so it helps us to expand the exhibition area. But what we're trying to do is to accompany to those digital devices with objects. Even in the multi-touch table, you have original objects and you have to move them to access the information that is underneath it. And as you can see in the picture below, we have a lot of different doors and drawers. So when a visitor comes to the museum and wants to access any information, the visitor has to open up everything. So this helps us to activate the visitor right from the beginning on. And this makes it much easier to put a screen behind such a door, whereas just standing, choose your language, German or English, start playing. And so the visitor is already inside the museum, very activated and engaged in a way. So the museum is very young, and here you can see the museum game. The museum game tried to combine all different aspects of learning, of interacting with the exhibition, of putting together all the different information. So you can see it was a virtual board game. You have parts of a quiz on the monitors above. You have even parts of karaoke and parts where you have to run around the museum and push hidden buttons. And yeah, of course, different visitors should interact with each other. It turned out it's one of those pieces of expensive furniture, so this one is not there anymore. The idea was extremely nice, I think, but as you can read, the game took a little bit too much time. It was a little bit too complicated, which is not, it's not complicated, but it was complicated enough to understand what you would have to do there. Technically, too complex means when it was buggy, and it was buggy from time to time, the system was shut down and took quite a long time to fix it again. So when it was shut down, it was just a huge table standing in the middle of an exhibition that had nothing to do with GDR. You weren't allowed to sit on it, you weren't allowed to put your bags on it. So we learned quite a lot from this. And visitors did not really want to interact with each other, as long as they did not come into groups of 4. So in 2010 we were able to expand our exhibition and almost double the size. And in this new part of the exhibition we put in a lot of digital devices. But of course we learned a lot from this game and made a lot of things, as I think, right. Here's one very, very simple example, because 2 days ago it was the 25th anniversary of a very famous, one of the last elections that were made in GDR. And here you can like replay this this election. We have in the middle picture, you can see we have the original ballot box, and digitally you can like replay this this election and find out how hard it is not only to not even go to not go to an election you were kind of forced to do, but even when if you wanted to vote with a no, it was even harder, and came down to a very, very graphic issue, because you had to cross out every name from the first letter to the last letter of every name that was written on the list. So this is quite easy to put in, and you can show the original ballot sheet, and you can let them write on it in a digital way. And it makes much easier to understand what this ballot box behind means. So a lot of information, I should have blanked them out first. So we see digital technology as a tool, yes, but it's not just a tool. We see it as an interface between the object and the visitor, giving it more life, giving the object a kind of experience to it. It's perfect for implementing games. So there's a lot going on in the whole topic of gamification, serious games. This would fill another workshop and another conference itself. But because I'm coming from games, for me this is very, very exciting what's happening right now, that visitors kind of open up to the idea that I can deal with a quite serious subject in a playful way. And I think that's, the word playful describes it best, because when it's playful it can also be entertaining, and it's still a lot of fun, digital technologies. And museums can show digital devices and technologies that visitors don't have at home. I 2 days ago I saw Night at the Museum 2 and I don't know if you've seen it, but the curator of the museum puts up this device with a digital Theodore Roosevelt, which is quite interactive, and you can ask it questions and so on, which is in the movie. Of course it's kind of bad, because like the creatures that are getting to life every night are thrown away. But I would be very, very curious how to deal with this digital device, and I would try to challenge its technically. I would try to challenge it and see how it's working. So it can really intensify the experience with objects, or add an experience to a object that we have to put behind glass to preserve it. And in this way it can also ease the learning process. Of course also touching objects can ease it in a way, but interacting with it also helps, I think. The thing where I think it's working best is our Trabi driving simulator. It's a unique thing. It's just built for our museum, and it's so extremely simple, but it's working so well. People line up before it to enter it. There is this Trabi that was standing there in the museum right from the beginning on, but since the end of last year, we added the small feature that when you enter the Trabi, you can start it with the keys. You hear the sound of the Trabi starting, and you can you see on the front window there's a projection of a DDR living area, which is about 10,000 square meters large, and you can use the gas pedals to control the car. you can even see the tempometer, the needle going up and down.
Does it overheat?
The gas is empty after 3 minutes, and it lets other visitors try it out. So this is working really well, because I think it's a very logical combination of the digital medium and the object itself. And even when it's not working, when it's buggy, it's shut off, there's still the Trabi inside the museum, and people still like it. They take pictures of themselves, or post a comment, post them to Twitter, adding a hashtag, and so on. And that's where I'm coming into play. So I'm sitting there doing social media work, and we are taking social media pretty serious, because we think we don't use social media as a form of advertising. I think putting posters and flyers in the city helps you more to get visitors to the museum, but it can really help you to expand the museum and expand the possibilities that you have, that you're sometimes limited in the museum. And for example, social media is perfect for dialogue and feedback, which we could not create with a game like the museum game. People did not really interact, but they're very used to interact with each other on Facebook, on Twitter, and so on. So we can make use of this to really collect a lot of these still living history in form of millions of people that lived in GDR. Even I was born in GDR, and even I remember stuff, and even I have questions and like to interact with other people. So we put up this YouTube series, Frag Dr. Wolle. Dr. Wolle is our head of research, and you can ask him questions online. And monthly we are producing a small video clip where you're just answering these questions. So we are on all these platforms that you can see, I think almost all of them. And every platform brings their own rules with it, and we are trying to apply to these rules and making the most out of it. And it's happening if you want it or not. People visiting the museum, and that I think what's important to look on also in the critical review is not only look on the digital devices that the museum puts inside its area, but the devices that people bring to the museum, and they are charged and lethal, and they will use it. And from time to time we find profiles that somebody put up in the internet for us because they wanted to rate us on Foursquare, or they wanted to rate us on TripAdvisor. And when they don't find something like that, they will create a profile for you and they will rate you. And what I think museums, maybe also museums' duty is to do, or if there's the possibility, is to not maybe not always moderate these discussions, but to create a space where everybody feels free to put in their informations, their experiences, and a museum can encourage them to build an opinion and share it with others. But the question that we are still facing is, how can we connect this very digital world to the museum? So there are a lot of ideas, but we haven't come up with the right idea yet. So I hope maybe I can find an answer for this. Yeah, but we are not only active on social media. There are a lot of things going on online. We have an online exhibition done together with the Google Cultural Institute. We have also a online exhibit database that you can see in the lower picture, where we try to digitalize the stuff we collect, which is a lot. We are putting pictures and small texts in, and it's growing slowly, but it's growing. And yeah, of course, we're participating in all the hashtags, all the events that are happening there on Twitter. And this is really exciting, because not only you get to connect with visitors that have never heard of you, but also connect to other museums and really share experiences. There's a quote of Neil and Philip Kotler: the exhibit experience should be seen as a threshold to learning, not an end point. What we are trying to do is use digital technologies to lower this threshold between the visitor and the exhibition, which also means between the visitor and the object, and the visitor and its approach to history. And we can also engage the visitor for further dialogue, which is, I think, in our case, still something a little bit different, because there are still so many people living from the time that experienced a DDR, and because of the abrupt end of DDR, there's people want to discuss and people want to share their opinions from all different sides, also from all extreme sides. But there are more possibilities, I think, than we already know of. So this is changing every day, and it's very exciting. Yeah, okay, thank you for your attention. There are a lot of different platforms that you can follow us on, and please, I definitely forgot a lot of things, ask me.